Hey guys, so I sent my neighbor a link to this website and told her about the numbers that spirit guides send us or whatever, and she suggested that I should make a video about this. So I decided to obviously make a video. So if you're wondering what numbers I'm talking about, have you ever experienced 1111? Looking at the clock and seeing 1111 on it? Well, that's actually sort of a guidance system to try and get you on the right track. And there's actually a lot more, well, few more numbers that are added to that. Now, I don't know where these numbers come from. This website says they come from your spirit guides, or they says right here that they could come from your angels. Whether it's your spirit guides, your angels, or God, or the universe, or source, I don't know where. There's one YouTuber I know of who, Quasi-Luminous, who says that the universe is a giant hologram and it's a computer simulation, and these numbers are just the computer simulation telling you what you should do. Now, there's scientists who are actually performing experiments and finding out that that's actually true, that our universe is just a hologram, a computer simulation of sorts, if a very advanced one at that. So, anyways, my neighbor suggested that I show you guys this website. But anyways, there's a lot more than 1111, which means that these signs indicate that your thoughts are correct for the news cycle, or your spiritual path. And if you follow these numbers, then basically you will have more coincidences and things will fall into place more easily and things will be more convenient. And if you go against these numbers, then like 6s and 4s and descending numbers like 432 and 543 and stuff, if you do that often enough, then you'll find more inconveniences and things won't go necessarily as planned and things won't go like you would want them to. Now, these are just numbers to, that's my fan kicking on if you heard that increase in noise. These are just numbers to basically give you guidance. They're like street signs showing the way you should go. But you have full choice as to whether you choose to go with them or not. Now, when I first came across this website, I read through it in about 20 minutes or so, and the going down, 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 2323 here means that when you see this at first, it means you've established a relationship with your spirit guides and you're open to receive their guidance via number sequences. And I was watching a YouTube video and I looked at the clock on the video and noticed that it was at 23 minutes and 23 seconds. So I was thinking, that's just a coincidence, happenstance, that just happened to work like that. So about 5 minutes later, I got up from the chair and walked past the stove oven appliance, and its clock said 11:11 because it was 11:11 p.m. And I was thinking, well, that's just a coincidence too. So I got back to the computer some time later, and it was 12:12. The computer clock read. So then I was really starting to look into this because I was thinking this might be a serious thing. So I experimented with it, and every time I saw numbers with the digits in them with ones or zeros, I looked up the meaning and found out that they're actually pretty accurate. That creaking sound, if you can hear it, is the wooden chair I'm sitting on. So basically, I'll just leave you. I'm going to put a link to this website in the description box below. So this web address right here, I'm going to put that in the description box so you can visit this page and check it out for yourself if you want to. It's kind of a new age esoteric numerology thing, if you want to call it that. It's very, very accurate. At first when I was following this, it was just look at the number and 5 hours, or think of something and then 5 hours later I'd see the number and I'd have to figure out what it went to. But now it's just think of something and immediately see the number. And just a few tips for you. If you see the number somewhere and it has, like, for example, 3300, if it's 3310 or 3301, then that doesn't really count. For me, what I found to be most accurate is if it's exactly one of these numbers on this page, then that's the most accurate. But if it's like 3310, that doesn't really mean anything. So only the digits here, those are the only ones that really change. But if you see like 555, 444, 333, if you see individual numbers like that, and I'm pointing with my finger, so yeah, of course you can't see where I'm pointing. So but yeah, if you just see individual numbers like so, or even 4 sevens or 5 or 6 or 7 sevens in a row, that's the same thing as 3 sevens. They're just giving you an example of groups of the same number. But if you see like 77767, only the 3 sevens are really all that matters. You can ignore the 6 7. And I'm probably not making a whole lot of sense because this isn't scripted. I'm making this video for the third time. The first time, the microphone was way too sensitive and I sounded like I was trying to talk through a 1920s radio with a stuffed nose. And the second time, I tried to open up a new window up here, and I should say a new tab, and it was too much for my processor to handle, so the entire 20-minute video was just frozen like it is now. So it's not frozen now, but it wasn't moving. So I'm making this video for a third time. And another tip for these numbers is if you look for these numbers, like if you're thinking of a question, it could be any question. It could be, should I have a bologna sandwich for lunch today question, or should I invest $2 million in this company question. It's any question, big or small, and the people who wrote this thing wrote several paragraphs of information discussing that. And my ADD is making me go all over the place. I need to get back on track here. If you look for the numbers, all you're going to do is find randomness. And if you try to ignore the numbers, then you're going to find that you're going to constantly see them and see them. You can turn off your clocks, you can take away your watch, you can leave your phone at home and try and not look at the prices, and all that's going to do is just drive you crazy because the numbers will just keep pushing themselves out to you. And if you keep trying to find the numbers, just think, maybe I should do this, and then you see 333, which means yes, and you're like, well, what would happen if I do this? And you're seeing a whole bunch of random numbers, and you're looking for something that would give you numbers that would give you the answer to the other option, and you're not seeing anything. You're not going to find anything if you look for it. So, for example, I was looking at license plates while I was driving, and I just happened to see 616, which means that your thoughts or actions are out of balance, that it's not the path that you want to go down. And I was thinking, well, what about this? And I came up with a different option. I was looking at all the license plate, and they were all random because I was looking for the numbers. So they were like 2JK15Ls, kind of random. So it does not work if you purposely look for the numbers. Now you might find an 1111 or 113 by looking around, but it's not the same thing as actually just noticing them. And I thought that maybe you have this idea that the numbers have guidance, meaning that the numbers guide you, but you subconsciously think that. So what your subconscious does is your conscious mind gathers millions of thoughts and sensory inputs every second and stores them in your subconscious because your conscious mind can't handle that all the time. And then your subconscious mind is like, well, you're looking for numbers, so here's some, and it makes you notice them. And I thought that's what was happening, but it seems that these numbers predict the future, because when I was thinking of something and I saw 4s, which means no, then I went ahead and went with it, followed through that action anyway, and it turned out to be a really inconvenient result, and it didn't work out as I wanted it to. But if I think about doing something and it says 3s, then I go ahead and do that, and it works out the way I want it to, and it's really convenient, and everything works swell. But anyways, these here go off of 666 because that was kind of redundant. Not redundant, but go off of 666 because that was kind of stereotypical. For example, 888, a phase of your life is about to end, and this is a sign to give you forewarning to prepare. Now, this isn't like Judgment Day kind of thing. This is just saying a particular cycle is about to come to an end. And it could be something as simple as the video you're loading in the next tab is about to be fully loaded, or the idea of not being hungry right now is about to end, and you may begin to develop an appetite. It can be little things like that. So anyways, it has alternate interpretations here. Drunvalo Melchizedek. He really needs to change his last name. Drunvalo's interpretations, I don't know if they're all that correct, because I haven't experimented with them. He says, completion of a particular lesson within the mystery school. Well, that would kind of make sense with your phase of your life is about to come to an end. So, but I haven't experimented with his interpretations. And Drunvalo is a channeler and sort of psychic person who channels information from higher powers and angels and guides and stuff. And so far, people seem to think he's pretty accurate. I don't know him well enough. I don't know about him well enough to come to an opinion about that. And the alternate 888 interpretation that the people who conducted this experiment came up with. Phase of your life is about to end. This sign is to give you forewarning to prepare, which is the same thing as the above thing. It could also mean that there is light at the end of the tunnel. In addition, it means the crops are ripe. Don't wait to pick and enjoy them. In other words, don't procrastinate in making your move. Now, there's a few things in here where I went with the alternate interpretation. The bottom one here, and I find that it's only accurate, the alternate interpretation is only accurate and only applies if, when you see the numbers, that the alternate interpretation is the first thing that comes to your mind. If you see the numbers and the primary interpretation is the first thing that comes to your mind, that's most likely what the interpretation is. Most of the time I just go by the primary interpretation, but sometimes I also go by the alternate interpretation, and by sometimes I mean like a few times every few months, or a few times within a few months, not that often. And I see these numbers every day, several times a day. So I'm just gonna, these paragraphs here explain in short detail about the experiment that these people did to basically, you can read it when you get to this website, but basically they did this experiment to see what the 1111 means, and they went through several years of experimentation to see what different numbers they can find and what their meanings were and interpretations were. And it was a lot of trial and error. You can read it in the paragraphs there. But it was a pretty interesting thing, and they went through so much work they decided to copyright this article in a book. I don't know what that book is, but if you have any questions about this, then go ahead and feel free to ask your questions in the comment box below, and I'll get to them. Now, I'm no expert on this thing. I'm no so-called master or whatever. I didn't create this stuff. I didn't come up with it. I just found the website a year and a half ago and experimented with it, and I've been following these numbers ever since because they seem to be very accurate, and they really help guide my life and put me on the right track and keep me there. But it's all entirely choice. For example, if you decide you want to do something and you see descending numbers, then it means that if you continue with it, your life will take a step backwards, and you'll run into inconveniences and issues, and things won't go according to plan. Now, the nice thing is that this seems to have a sort of insurance plan in that if you see descending numbers, you have several chances to not continue with that thought or not continue with that action, because you'll see descending numbers several times before your life will take a step backwards. And if you the descending numbers don't have to be just 3, 2, 1 or 4, 3, 2 or whatever. It could be like 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 in the whole long line of numbers, or the ascending numbers. It could be the entire number thing from 1 to 9. It doesn't have to be 1, 2, 3, 4. And one of the other things I noticed is that if I'm thinking about something and I see like a mailbox or something that has like 1133, then go ahead and click out. Not you, me. If I see a mailbox that says 1331, if I can talk right, and I was thinking, oh crap, I forgot that thought. What was I thinking that it's saying I should do? And I'll trace my steps backwards trying to come up with a thought, and it won't come to me. If you have a thought and you see the guidance system telling you whether you should do it or not, and you don't remember what that thought is, do not worry, do not panic. Those numbers will come back. If you're supposed to know that you were supposed to do that, if you're supposed to know if you should do something or shouldn't do something, and you forget what you were thinking about when you saw those numbers, you will think about it again and then see another number somewhere else, or perhaps the same number, and maybe that time you'll realize it, and it'll repeat itself for you 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 times until you remember what you were thinking. It gives you chances. So I think that is about it. I think I've covered everything. I certainly have had enough practice. As I said, I've done this video for the 3rd time now, because first time the audio was bad and the second time it froze up. I'm hoping that this one doesn't freeze up, because it's not the web page that freezes up, it's the video that freezes up. So if you have any questions about this that you'd like to ask me, then go ahead and ask me them in the comments box, as I said, and I'll try and answer them to the best of my ability. If you have any suggestions for video ideas that you might like to see, then go ahead and let me know. And I have I do a vlog on my channel where I basically make any videos that I want to, whenever I want, whatever I want to make the videos about. So if you want to follow me on that. It's pretty much a slot machine of what you'll get next. And that was a horrible analogy because most slot machines you lose your money. Okay, never mind. But anyways, if you want to go check out my other videos on my channel, then you can do that. And if you want to see more of my videos, of course, you can click the subscribe button. And I think that's enough self-advertising for me. And I will let you go now if you haven't already clicked out of this video from boredom. I will talk to you later. And with a wave of my hand, I say goodbye.